It's episode 250 of The Platformers, a show about games and nerd culture, and I am your host, Brian Barnett.
I'm Joshua Mobley.
I'm Chris Shriver.
I'm special guest Justin Coreyes.
Oh my God, he actually told us how to pronounce it. Yay!
You're going to have to refer back to this, though.
I am. I won't ever forget it because that's very good.
The frequency in my life where people ask me, how do you pronounce that? Which is why I've developed quick answers like you don't.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you for joining us on this momentous occasion, the 250th episode of this podcast, which has gone through many phases and many revisions. I tweeted out a big thank you to everybody who's ever been part of it. I know that some of you are watching, some of you are listening, but thank you very much, everybody, for being part of this journey. This is going to be a special episode, so we're not doing our standard stuff. We're going to be talking about stories from our own personal gaming histories, kind of gaming moments that stick out to us, formative moments, and things like this. It's just going to be kind of a fun time talking about some moments that are important to us. So, who wants to start? Shall we start straight up, or do we want to do some banter since it's been a while?
Real quick, can I just express my outrage at last week's show?
Go for it.
In particular, my outrage that it was a dump on Horizon Fest, and I didn't get an invite to that. How dare you?
Oh, because you wanted to, or because you wanted to defend it?
Trust me.
No.
Like, we'll save it for another show, but boy, do I have thoughts on Horizon. As
do you want to do a TLDR real quick? Because I'll tell you what the secret is. I'll tell you what the secret is. The secret is Will literally DM'd me and said, "Get me on the show so I can trash talk Horizon." And I was like, "Okay." And you didn't do that, and that's the only difference.
Yeah, you snooze, you lose. See, Will is always like a frame ahead of you. That's just how it is with him.
He's so used to playing a strike throw character in fighting games. He's counting those frames.
Yep, you way to exceed my capacity to understand the reference I was making. That was you out fighting game nerded me very quickly. Okay, the TLDR version is, I think it's a cool concept and world, and on paper it's very, very neat, and I do kind of like the general world. It doesn't play great, though. It's very open, very shallow, and it is probably the single worst example I can think of a major AAA game in terms of representation, in terms of a white savior, and absolutely in terms of cultural appropriation. So as
it was right there, it was right there for them to grab hold of it, and they didn't.
Hey, as your Native American friend recording this with you on Indigenous Peoples Day, trust me, I have a lot of feelings about the representation in Horizon.
Yeah.
By the way, happy Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yeah. Thank you.
And it's also Canadian Thanksgiving at the same time. I learned that the other day.
I did not know that.
Yeah. I always thought Canadian Thanksgiving was in November. It's not. It's right now. It's today. Very interesting.
Everybody serve up your finest poutine.
Yeah. And then I'll send some of it to you by mail.
I love poutine. No, God,
the soggiest package.
Poutine. Wait! You think you get a package? No, this is an envelope with a stamp that's just oozing poutine out of the corner.
Yes.
Poutine, like you have to get fresh.
It's just a box, and you pick it up, and you're like, "What's in the box?"
I'm sorry. You have to get poutine fresh, and it has to like the minute they pour the gravy on, they have to slide it to you because the minute gravy touches fry, it is a ticking time bomb. Like it has a lifespan, right?
It's like you have the little like chess clocks where it's like as soon as it hits you slap it.
It's like 24. Like
boop, boop. That's awesome.
Poutine cast.
Poutine cast
2022. Let me tell you, I'm ready to get back.
Rather good cheese curds the other day.
You wouldn't believe. It was a hole in the wall.
So
I had to leave my chauffeur outside. Anyways, it's episode 250. So let's talk about some stuff.
It's crazy.
Justin, I don't know. I don't remember which of us is older. I think you might edge me out just a little bit.
If nothing else, I look older, so we can go with that.
Well, I mean, I beg to differ, but you know, I'll allow it.
When
So,
your beard starts adopting this like skunk color palette of mixed black and gray, you'll get there.
all right.
It's very distinguished.
Yep.
What?
Way to put it.
So what are some foundational, really early gaming memories for you? Like what's a moment that sticks out of you know one of the first moments that brought you into it?
Yeah, I think like a lot of people of let's say our generation, I was video game adjacent in like the Atari era, but I was really too small to uh comprehend that very much. So for me, like a lot of people, it was the Christmas Day Nintendo Entertainment System.
Mm.
And like so for me that's foundational. And distinctly I have memories of um Super Mario Brothers, right? And
Yeah.
just it just which again, that's uh maybe it's overdone, but like I was very much one of those kids where like I didn't even really understand what a console was and like this whole concept. It's like, oh, it's a VCR. You hook it up to your TV and you control what you're watching. What? I don't know. I'm over eating a crayon trying to like get it together, but like, and then you spend a lot of time with it, and so like for me like even now I'm older. I have kids of my own, and when I think of Christmas, like invariably I have very specific and distinctive memories of waking up on Christmas and having this big rectangular package, not having any idea what was inside of it, and opening it up and seeing that original Nintendo Entertainment System box. Now, I lived in the Midwest at the time. This wasn't like the original East Coast NES box, so we didn't get like Rob the Robot with his weird little spinning disc thing or anything like that. But we had the combination Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt cartridge and the Zapper, and at the time that was good enough. And like that, the fact that like this random gift that I don't even know how much thought my parents put into it at the time, but the idea that like that thing that was this catalyst decades later of like so much of like what I do and such a big part of my identity absolutely blows my mind. And so to me that is like inseparable. To me, like Christmas is gaming and gaming is Christmas, and they can't possibly separate.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, myself included, for whom um you know the Nintendo, the original Nintendo is like the thing that got them into it. I actually got in a little bit before that with something that was a gift from my uncle actually. Um, but yeah, the NES was definitely like the big like multi-hit thing. And of course Mario was like Mario plus Duck Hunt is like just like the thing
Yep.
for everybody, you know, and then those moments of, you know, my sister and I sitting on the floor and then her grabbing the, you know, the light gun and running right up to the screen and holding it right up and just blasting them, you know, because that's, you know, why wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah.
There was
My
no,
mother was convinced we were going to put the gun through the screen at some point. Never mind the fact that like old CRT TV, that TV probably still works.
yeah,
And those plastic little like zapper guns would just turn to dust if you tried to make that move.
yeah, it was, it was well before the days of we remote condoms and wrist straps and all that sort of stuff. But there was definitely still a lot of possibility for destroying. Yeah, there you go, right there. But for destroying screens and things like this. Um, but yeah, the NES was huge for a lot of people, and I think that is like the earliest thing that I think most people of our generation can agree on. And yeah, and Nintendo is still arguably the mover and shaker in the industry to this day.
Yeah, and I mean there's a certain level of like, like when you become a critic, you do try and be objective and you do try and look at things through a critical eye, but like I fully acknowledge that I need to like actively consider when I look at like core Nintendo franchises, my own biases. Like it's
Yeah.
difficult for me not to love a Zelda game just because it's a Zelda game, you know? Like I have to like actively, stop and pause and consider like what I'm watching and what I'm looking at, because it is it like hits the mallet in the piano in my head, it hits that nostalgic string so perfectly and like so deeply that it's an active process to like, when I'm in critic mode to like separate out and try and take a view of it, because otherwise like it's, I'm 1,000 years old, but it takes me back to being a 5-year-old on Christmas every time.
Yeah, and for a long time I also equated Christmas with games, and I wonder, did either Chris or Josh, did either of you feel the same way?
Oh yeah, like 1,000%.
I don't know about Christmas, specifically, but definitely like my birthday, was definitely like something I equated with video games. Christmas was more like other stuff. Yeah. Not that I didn't get video games for Christmas, but like I didn't get like, the major exciting ones or exciting like consoles in my life on like Christmas, really.
I can't say the same. Like, I was such a spoiled brat when I was growing up, and like I know that now as an adult. Like being the youngest of 4, and my dad like being in a much better position, like as far as his career was concerned, when I was growing up versus when my siblings were. Like, they had gotten consoles, as we were growing up for Christmas and things like that, but they like, it was always they had to share it. Like, it was like, this is the group gift, like everybody gets a piece, like
Mom says it's my turn on the Xbox.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas when I was growing up, it was really like I don't want to stray too far from the path, but like there's the infamous story of me praying to Santa, what was it, 2000 or 2001, being like, I don't want an Xbox, I don't want Shrek, because like I knew that was going to be my fate. Like,
so that's what you got.
Yeah, my parents were going to be like, well, we'll get like, Microsoft's got this new thing, and my dad was really into computers, like, they have this thing called Halo.
My dad was really into Shrek, so
yeah, my dad was really into Shrek. Smash Mouth was his favorite
number
band.
one Shrek NA.
Yeah,
my mom was really into Shrek.
And I woke up the next morning, and that's what we got, like as a group, was Xbox, and sure enough, there was my copy of Shrek.
Wasn't real.
And I knew Santa wasn't real, and I was like, oh my god, this is awful. And the next year, because I made such a big stink about it for 365 days, I got a GameCube, and it was like the last gift that I got that year. And like to this day, I think just the act of me waiting and just like the anticipation of it is like why I am still so in love with the GameCube. Even now, like I played Luigi's Mansion yesterday. I always equate, I mean, even like as an adult, like, and it's weird now because like I have my own income. So like before, it was always like 90% of my Christmas list was whatever games came out, the Assassin's Creed, the Call of Duty, like whatever annualized franchise, because they all came out in November when we were growing up. And now it's like, well, if I want it, I'll just buy it.
Just get it.
I'll just get it, or I'll wait till it goes on sale.
There was none of that like longingly looking at like a Nintendo Power cover or something,
right?
And just like really wanted, like I distinctly remember like waiting for Phantasy Star Online, and like you could like just, I wanted it so bad, so it was like I was playing all of the old ones on emulators, and I had like stuff from Nintendo Power about it, and you would just read them over and over again. I feel like kids don't really have that these days. Like they don't have the just like pain of having to wait, which made the like acquiring it like so much sweeter for some reason.
Or like when know your mom or dad or somebody would take you to the mall, and you would go into like the KB toy store, or
you can pick
Toys
one
R Us
toy
or something like that, and you pick the game out, but then you're going to be out doing more shopping for like an hour, and so you take the little manual and you just read the little Legend of Zelda manual and look at all the monsters, and you're like, oh man, I can't wait. I read through the Super Nintendo. The Super Nintendo or Super Metroid booklet, I just kept reading through it because the monsters are so crazy. Toadstool BR in the chat. Congrats on 250 episodes, platformers. Thank you so much, you guys.
Thanks. Dude.
I'm assuming that's Logan who's doing this.
Probably.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
But yeah,
also,
and
that
was back when like the manuals were good and like full of like backstory and lore and so I did the same thing.
And glossy, and they felt great, you know?
Oh yeah. And so like I might have mentioned this to you guys at some point, but like not that long ago, I just bought the A Link to the Past instruction manual.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Just to have that, because like I remember as a kid, like it has like at least at the time it was like an entire novel as far as I was concerned.
Oh
story, right at the beginning, right, of all the setup. Then a little bit how to play, and then a lot was like every item and like a detailed description of the items, like in lore and things like that. So
the hook shot,
like yeah, exactly. And like to this day, I lament the fact that like I can't just buy a game, go home, open it, and just read through like a thick manual before I pop the disc in.
Well, and
or it has a note page, you know.
And back in the day, like
leave extensive notes.
Yeah, you write your codes in there.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Some dude, wrote in the Secret of Mana book at the rental store, and so like how to get through the first chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but there was like...
You're like, thanks, man.
There was also, and I say this a lot about, and I think it's why I go back to like older games now so much, is like there was an imagination that came with that. Like you would... or at least I would, because I was a giant dork, but like I would bring instruction manuals to school and be like, look at Banjo-Tooie or whatever, check out all the levels in it. And like you didn't have YouTube. Like it was just like you had to go through this manual and try to piece together like what is happening in this game. Dude, it was like so much more exciting that way.
100%. And also like I remember when Pokemon came out, like you had to ask other kids like at school like what to do, because sometimes some kids knew where to go, and so it's like I remember trying to get through like Sabrina's tower and stuff and being so confused, and I legit had to like get another kid when I was in elementary school to like write me down like how to get through
where to go.
Yeah, but it created this like communal kind of thing, and it made it a little more like satisfying to get through.
It was also really cool about Pokemon. I have a lot of early memories with Pokemon. But like you'd see somebody who had like a level 97 Nidoran or something like that. Like, or something that you had to level up with or you had to evolve with like a stone or doing something. And they would, it was just like a really weak Pokemon, but they just had it, whatever. Or they had like a Butterfree that was level 100 or something. And it's just like, man, why are you still using this? Like, why are you still using Beedrill at level 80? Like,
because Beedrill's tight. What a cool looking Pokemon, man.
Yeah, Beedrill, by the way, perfect example why I'm glad Pokemon don't exist, because I do not need to go outside.
No,
those murder hornets are pretty close.
That is a really good. Right? That's a really good point, because when you're a kid, you're like, man, I wish Pokemon really exists. But then you think you'd have to live in this world with like actual dragons and giant wasps. Yeah,
right, exactly.
That doesn't sound very fun.
But in their defense, it doesn't really seem like anybody gets killed by them. They're just like, oh, they're terrorizing the countryside. And then you go and it's like, I can't get to work. And then you're like, excuse me, can you move over a little bit? I've got this whistle. And they're like, okay. And then that's the end of it.
I'm no expert on Pokemon lore, but like, isn't at least some of their backstory that like they're based on like certain like legends that like lure off and murder children and stuff? Like I'm pretty sure there's a few that are like
some are like
devastatingly dark.
Yeah,
there are like Gengar or something, or
eats
like
your
Ghastly,
dreams and
something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like don't let it see you, because it'll steal your soul and turn you into a dead child.
There's the inverse
just like
of that.
when you get your picture taken.
There's the inverse of that came up this past week with the last Pokemon trailer, where they showed like it was like a little sandwich shop, like a deli shop, and they had all these like slices of meat, and everyone was like, "Oh, where is this coming from?" And they show that little pig Pokemon, like, "Oh, wait, that's awkward."
I mean, like they are animals. They talk about eating Magikarp all the time.
Yeah, and
Magikarp's just basically a giant tuna,
Yeah,
that turns into a dragon
salmon or something.
Right, exactly. Just go to check in your koi pond one day and it's full of dragons.
Yeah.
Not
Well,
again.
how did this happen?
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. That's pretty nuts. The experience, also the experience of like back in the day, we had those manuals and we were talking to other people, but also you would get things like, oh, you have to get strength before the SS Anne leaves the station so you can go over and push the truck out of the way and Mew is underneath it. And it's like, well, that's not true at all. But
Right.
It's not true.
Everybody-
I remember
yeah,
I remember getting like going up the river like before you were supposed to be able to and stuff. And like there's no Mew back. There is a hidden area back there. That is 100% true.
yeah,
Like there's a hidden place, but there's nothing there.
yeah.
But I remember being so disappointed. Same with the Sky Temple in Ocarina of Time. We used to talk about that all the time, and then people used to say it's not real. And then I think just recently it is real, right?
So
Like-
no, it's the temple of the sages is what it is. So they like there's a word for it. They like recompiled bits of source code that was left on like the Ocarina of Time cartridge and built what was like out of the remnants of
So it was
that
like cut
code.
content or something?
Yeah, it's cut content.
And as far as basically what they were able to do is like fill in the gaps between things.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's like the video game equivalent of rebuilding dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. Like you could kind of see all the markers and fill in everything in between. And
Yeah.
I think fewer people
Frog
died.
DNA.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. They filled in Ocarina of Time with frog DNA. believe
Yeah.
it or not.
Yeah. That's what you got to do sometimes.
Yeah. So they were able to kind of come up with that, which those people are brilliant.
That video
Like,
is incredible. If you look it up, I think it was the Summer Games SGDQ. And the way that they talk about how they program all that. They built this like bot that does it. It like executes however many thousands of commands a second. And it's basically they program it through button inputs basically on the N64 controller. If you haven't seen that video, you should definitely check it out because it's a lot of like things that it was things like that you would hear as a kid. Like I saw on like the VHS tape that you can get to this area and like it just isn't in the game. And it's because they cut it. But pretty cool.
That or Sonic and the original Smash Bros.
Yeah.
Well, you could do Master Hand. That was another one for a while, but people actually figured that one out.
Yeah. The Sonic one was fake, but
That was fake. Yeah.
I do remember that was a thing, like people would say. Yeah.
A lot of fake stuff,
Yeah.
even up through like the PS1 era, you know.
You know, y'all talking about Christmas earlier actually did remind me of a GameCube Christmas story. Because my dad liked to fucking play pranks on us
Let's
for
hear
Christmas. So it actually goes back to me talking about Phantasy Star Online and being like, I want this game so bad, right? It was literally the only thing I asked for Christmas was that and the online adapter for the GameCube, which I still have. And I have the box for
Wow,
the
that's worth a lot of
Japanese
money.
Oh.
box.
Wow.
Because it's the only one that my dad could find. But like, I kept that's all I wanted. Well, he tells me like, no, I only got you one present this year. And he's like, and he just keeps making up all these lies. It's like really big. Like I have to get people to help me bring it in the house and it like runs on gas. But he's like, it also run in the pool and like all these things. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, but I remember just being like, really upset because like I legit all I
very
wanted.
clearly
just
was
want a
not what you were
GameCube,
asking
Dad.
for. Yeah.
That's all I just wanted Phantasy Star Online. Like, and I remember getting up for Christmas and I just knew like I was going to be disappointed. And he gives me this box. It's gigantic. Like, and it's wrapped. He goes, here's your one present. And then I open it and it's all my Christmas presents just wrapped inside this giant box. And I just looked at him like with this face, like I'm not amused, but he thought it was like really funny. But I did get Phantasy Star Online in that box. So then it made it okay, but I was not amused
That's incredible.
That's awesome.
by the one present giant box. I don't even know if he remembers that.
That unlocked a new memory, a memory for me. We're just gonna go around like this all day.
Yeah, pretty much.
But so my grandpa, my maternal grandfather, loved playing pranks on people as well, specifically around gift time. and he used to work at he co-owned a welding shop, and so he had access to tons of tools and tons of things like this. So what he would do is he would take like spare parts and things like that, like bolts, screws, weird like metal balls, like heavy stuff that also feels weird in a box and moves around and makes a bunch of noise. And he would put the box inside of a larger box that also had all that extra stuff in it. And
like a Russian nesting doll.
Basically, but the outer layer was just nonsense and the inner layer was actually what you wanted. And there was one time where we went to their place, which is now the house that my uncle owns. Because my grandfather is no longer with us. But they had gotten us they had gotten me a yellow Game Boy Color and Star Wars Episode 1 Pod Racer for Game Boy.
Hell yeah.
And then I think they got me like a puzzle game or something. No, yeah. They also got me Radar Mission or something, which was like another one of the Game Boy Color games that had like the Rumble pack on it. They got me 2 of those. So, which was crazy.
I didn't know any Game Boy Color games had a Rumble pack other than... Did
So
Pokemon Pinball have a Rumble pack?
Pokemon
the
Pinball,
Racer one,
Perfect Dark, Ready to Rumble.
Episode 1 Racer also has it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that.
There's probably like 12 of them, something like that.
Yeah.
It's more than I would have expected.
I had 2 of them and I don't anymore. But yeah, that was and then I remember just laying on that like felt couch in the night, looking up at the like heavily like spackled roof and seeing the glow of the brightly colored, vibrant Christmas lights on the tree right next to me, because I had to sleep on the couch because there weren't any rooms left for me. And just playing my Game Boy Color.
Like, you're a kid, you can afford the back problems. Like, sleep on the couch, sleep on the floor.
Yeah. But then, I would play, and I had that little translucent yellow light that stuck out of the
worm light
battery port with the little curly Q that went up to the front and shone a light on it.
Little worm light.
Yes, that exact one. That exact one that Chris has right there.
Chris, that when I got my Game Boy Color with Pokemon Blue, that is the exact one I had.
It's a
that
game
lime green
changer.
one.
Yep.
Yeah.
I loved that thing.
And then with the second iteration of the Game Boy Advance, they finally did backlighting, and the world was never the same.
I know.
It was awesome.
They realized, what if we could actually see our games?
Yeah. It still took them. Yeah, it still took them a while to be able to get it where you could play it out in the open and be able to see stuff and not have
because it even wasn't that bright.
Yeah. The AGS 101. That was the model of the screen.
Is that the revision of it? I am amazed. And so again, the Game Boy, all-time great console, right? I am amazed at the way they managed to thread this needle where it's like you had to have it wasn't backlit, so you had to have some light to see it. But the plastic was glossy as hell, so you obviously couldn't have too much light on it. Otherwise, you can't see anything. So you had to perfectly thread the needle of the right amount of light at the right angle. Yep. Otherwise, you can't see anything.
We all had like lab coats trying to create the perfect
my God,
perfect situation.
I would be driving with my family home, because so much of this was my grandparents lived like 45 minutes away. So like every time we went to see them, I would have my Game Boy out. I would have my Sony Walkman or my Sony Discman and have that and be listening to my knockoff digital Star Wars soundtrack that they bought, and it was the Imperial March, but it wasn't quite right, and you could tell that all the strings were fake, and it really annoyed me, but it was the one that we were able to get. So I had that. And I would just sit, and at night when we were coming back, we'd be going down the roads and they'd have the lights going by and I would be timing what I would be doing.
At a time.
Yeah, I'd be looking and I would just be angling it towards the window. So when I could get just little flashes of light to be able to play my games.
You gotta make a jump, and so you're eyeballing the light coming up so you can see it.
Yep.
This is I realize we're all in our past our 30s, so this very much screams like kids these days don't know how fucking good they got it, because Like we couldn't play games in the day. We couldn't play games at night. Like you had to play games like during golden hour.
Right.
Basically.
You had to carry around cartridges with you.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
true.
your 8 AA batteries only lasted for that 45-minute window. The lighting
Right.
is correct anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first
Yeah.
time I got my Game Boy, like, fresh batteries, I played Pokemon Blue for like, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours straight, and it already was like running out of batteries.
Yep.
Like at that point.
Yep, and then your parents are mad at you for eating up the batteries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you take it out of the remote, and then your dad
Oh
would
yeah,
go to
you're just
use the
harvesting every
TV.
device.
Why
Right.
the hell?
That's the other thing too. Like I got rechargeable batteries for it at some point, but like back then, rechargeable batteries took like forever. It took like a day to charge.
And
So
as it got older, they didn't last as long, so it's like all they charge for an hour of play.
Yeah. So you would like wait and you'd be like, oh, I really want to play something, but I just literally cannot because the batteries have to charge for another 18 hours. Fucking A, man.
Yeah. Mom Jump in the chat says, I still have my Nintendo Power Guide to Final Fantasy. That book has been used and well loved for decades. I still have.
I miss Nintendo Power. It was such especially during the GameCube era, it was such a good magazine.
Yeah, it was.
I think I still have my like Prima guide to Final Fantasy X. I used the absolute hell out of.
I have.
My friend probably has them.
Oh, so I have vivid memories of again, just like dating myself, of Nintendo Power having full level guides to Super Mario Brothers 3, and so like you would actually see like across 2 pages, like the full layout of entire levels, right? And like seeing the topography of like what they actually look like when you're not just looking at a single like sliding screen, mind blowing. Like how big and rich and detailed they were.
Oh,
and
yeah.
like, where to find everything, absolutely incredible. And yeah, those and only Nintendo Power could like really officially do that.
Well, and what was the other? There was one before Nintendo Power that I have a copy of it up in my attic, but.
Were you about to say up in me attic?
Up in me attic. You know why? I watched Dairy Girls all weekend, so now I have this like weird Irish thing that keeps sliding into my speech.
I've got a good amount of Nintendo Power in my.
You wouldn't believe how much Link is up there.
It's right next to me, Shillelagh.
Yeah. No, but there was whatever came before Nintendo Power. There's a Legend of Zelda where it's like basically a mini guide that they wrote, and it's like the full like map is written out and they tell you like which direction to go in and everything. It's like strategy guides before strategy guides.
Yeah.
I definitely remember.
That's a good question. What was the first strategy guide? Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. One thing that I remember about Nintendo Power is like being able to see like the full sprawl of Super Metroid for the first time.
Right.
Like being able to see like all the areas, and then they would have like these higher res images of the bosses like kind of floating above one of the corners of them and different things like that. That was really awesome. But another thing that I remember about Nintendo Power, which I had forgotten about until this moment when you brought it up, Justin, was do you guys remember the little collectible perforated cards that they had?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would have like Eggplant Wizard or something, or
Congrats on being the first person to mention Eggplant Wizard in 20 years. That's amazing.
Maybe.
Yeah, really.
You know what they say? Some cultures say about like you die a first time, like when your body stops working, and then you die the second death the last time somebody ever mentions your name. Eggplant Wizard just got renewed. He's still
what's funny?
kicking
so, like, I'm not gonna say I have strong feelings of like about the Eggplant Wizard, but like I do have indelible like memories and thoughts of the Eggplant Wizard, but I have no idea what he's from. He's from Kid Icarus. The only thing I know Eggplant Wizard from is Captain N.
Yes.
The Game Master, because he was one of the villains in that.
Yeah.
And so that's literally like my entire image of Eggplant Wizard is just whatever that awful cartoon version of him was.
Yeah, Eggplant Wizard is from Kid Icarus, although I never played those games. So I don't know how I know that, but I remember there being like the picture, and then there would be like something on the back or on the front, like in the corner, it'd be like what the game they were from, and it would be like all kinds of stuff. It would be Mario, like from Mario 2, like from the cover or something, jumping up with like a radish or something, and then there would be like a Goomba or a Koopa Troopa or something like that, and I felt, even as like a very young child who didn't understand, like maybe the smallest hints of like very minor OCD or something where I was just like, well, I have to have them. I have to like keep all the edges like really trimmed, and like I have to get them from all my friends, and I have to have them all for no reason. They weren't doing anything for me, but
it's that gotta catch them all mentality.
Made you happy.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I do remember the posters used to get out of Nintendo Power. Those like big,
sick.
long.
Yes.
They were almost like scrolls.
Yeah.
There was a Metroid
cool.
2 one that I got from there that was awesome. I mean, the cover.
You get excited when, like, the for whatever new game was coming out. Like if a new Zelda was coming out, it would be like in there.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys this: do you have a first game that you recall being aware of in advance of it coming out and being very hyped about it, like releasing and arriving? Like, what's the first one that you can recall being like
that I was counting down the days for?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, because it's interesting. Yeah, because like for a while, it's sort of like games are just out.
They just kind of appear.
They
just kind of appear.
They are on shelves suddenly, and now you are aware of them.
And it's also interesting because like I think back on like when I was aware of like certain consoles and stuff. So you'd think, like, to me, I'm like, oh, the PS1. Like, I got one when I was, like, 8, so it would have been, like, 1998. And I'm thinking, like, oh, like, that probably came out around then, right? And it's like, no, it came out years before that. And it's like, what? It did? Like, it doesn't feel right. And then it's like, the PS2 is like, oh, yeah, that was probably, like, 2002. It was like, no, it was, like, 99, bro. Like, it's just very, very odd. How time does all that. But I think maybe the first one might have been, going back to Pokemon, it might have been Gold and Silver. That I can think of. Like, knowing in my head that Gold and Silver was a thing and that it was coming out and like...
Because that was like an event. Like, other people were looking forward to that. It wasn't just like me being a weirdo, in my living room, like, oh, Like, that was one everybody had to look forward to, but I don't think I got that until Christmas that year.
I got it around when it came out, but yeah, I got it as like a birthday present or something. I can't remember. I want to guess like 99.
Oh yeah, November 1999. Yeah, I would have gotten it for Christmas.
Nailed it.
Oh my god.
Good job.
I was right.
So I think I might be in a weird situation compared to the rest of you guys because I never had a Nintendo Power subscription.
Me either.
And I don't think I was aware of even what was coming out until maybe I was in college.
Well, you always got stuff later or secondhand from like
like you were talking, you were talking about like, oh, this probably came out then. Like it was the year 2000. It was early in the year 2000 before I had anything beyond a Super Nintendo. And then I went from the Super Nintendo straight to the PS1. And then I had the PS1 for quite a while before I got a PS2. But by the time I got my PS1, PS2 was already out. It just wasn't, I don't think it was available in Singapore yet. It was just really expensive. I don't know. But yeah, and then it wasn't until I didn't get the PS3 at launch. I don't know when I got the 360 when Halo 3 came out, which was definitely not at launch, but my roommate had one before then. But yeah, whenever Halo 3 came out is when I got my 360. And so I guess that would probably be the first one. The first game that I was like really excited about it coming out. Yeah. I feel like I just didn't know what was coming out then. Which is crazy because now I know everything that's coming out and I'm not excited about any of it. But yeah, it's
funny.
That's oversimplification, but you guys get what I mean.
Oh, it's because you're in it, right? Like,
yeah, I'm too close to it. Yeah,
yeah.
I don't have room.
That has an impact for sure.
Yeah, it's like the minute you get like so close to it, and the minute you have money to just buy whatever you want, it takes a lot out of it, and so it suddenly you just can't get excited about stuff the same way you used to, because back then it was like you only got, a handful of games a year,
Yeah.
if that, even though you wanted so much more. It was like, no, you only gonna get like the one you get for your birthday. Maybe you can save some allowance and get another one. And
Yeah.
like you'll be able to rent a few from Blockbuster, but like you're kind of in whatever you get. Like you have to really commit,
Yeah. And even so, like there were a lot of games that I wanted that they didn't get for me, either because the stuff that I wanted was like it had magic and wizards in it, which I wasn't allowed to get into. It had Pokemon in it, and that had evolution in it, which my parents didn't want me to have. And like there was, even though these are like just minor mechanical things, like this was stuff that was just like, so like they would just get me different stuff. Like I didn't ask for Episode 1 Racer or Missile Command, but so it was a monkey's paw situation. It was like, hey, we're finally gonna get you some video games. They're not the ones you want. They're not the ones you would have asked for. I
So you were the
barely
Bart
played.
Simpson.
Yeah, like it was.
Our
It was. I wanted to get the
Yeah.
freaking. I wanted Killer Instinct for Super Nintendo. Never got it. But they did. They did get me like Mario All Stars. Mario All Stars plus Super Mario World, which we played the absolute hell out of. You know what I mean? Like that's literally one of the best cartridges ever made. But I wanted to melt as a Iceman and then come up and give somebody a big uppercut. And I couldn't do that in Mario. Not until years later in Mario Maker.
Right.
Like make my dreams come true.
Yeah, for me, it was I recall like I was pretty aware of video game like at an early age. Like I knew like very young like that video games were an entire industry. Like for some reason I was just like plugged into that. I often tell the story that like in kindergarten, when they asked what do you want to do when you grow up, I said, I want to test video games for Capcom, right? I even knew which like developer I wanted to
Yeah.
do. Yeah, I know.
Why Capcom?
So my favorite video game of all time is
Let me guess, Mega Man X?
Yeah.
Oh, I was right.
I love Mega Man X.
That's a
Yeah.
great
Game.
freaking game, dude.
Oh, incredible. Oh, I've agreed. Oh yeah, incredible soundtrack, all that stuff. And so what, like, I also, I don't know if I just like could recognize like the patterns of like logos on boxes, but like, Street Fighter 2 kicked ass, right? So like that was awesome. Like they did all sorts of awesome things. And so like, so I knew that at the time. So like, I was just kind of like, as a little kid, I sort of paid attention to it as an industry. And so like, I saw in a like advertisement, like in the run up, like pre-launch, like a commercial for Super Mario RPG, right? And like it looked incredible, right? It like it was fully 3D in the Super Nintendo era, right? It had like and at the time I didn't know well enough to know that it was like a Square project, so it's like, but it like had the coolness of like Final Fantasy, right? Which had previously been like a little too dense for me to get into at that age. And like the commercial is this amazing setup of like this old man like sort of describing it, talking about like this giant sword crashing into this castle, and like describes this incredible scene, and then they like sort of transition into the end of the scene. And so like I saw that commercial and I was like, holy shit, that's amazing, I have to get that. And so like every time like we went to like to the grocery store that had the little like video rental section, I always run over there to see if it was out, right? Just every time, like beeline to see if it's out. And then like eventually it was, and I rented, and eventually I bought it, and the game turns out is absolutely incredible. But like that was the first time I can recall for anything at all experience hype, and like getting caught up in the hype, and like getting to like experience the joy of like seeing that come to fruition. And so like that's another sort of like indelible like gaming memory of mine, is like being actually thrilled about something coming out, and like counting down the days.
What's funny is you couldn't just look it up online, so you had to just every time you went to the store, you were like, well, I gotta look,
right?
I have to see if it's here, because that will tell me.
I remember
like even if it was out, you could go to a store and like there's no guarantee they would even have it.
Like
they might not even carry it.
Right. Like I remember when Toys R Us started pre-orders, where they would have those big yellow tags like all around the register, and then they had like a printed out picture of like, this is what the box is gonna look like or whatever. $49.99. And that was kind of like how
they had a print on like an inkjet printer.
Right.
Yeah.
But like I would always build like my Christmas. Like I remember there were some Christmas gifts where you would get it and it was just that big yellow tag and it was like whenever it comes out you'll get it. You know, whatever game it may be. I think one of the Mario parties
it's like
that
an
happened.
IOU from your mom.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And so you would do the thing where if you're in the store, you walk up to like one of the registers and you're like, "Hey, is this out yet?" No, it's not. Okay, goodbye.
Yeah.
Stop asking me, kid.
Right.
Hey, do you guys have speaking of this, I know we're talking about like video games and stuff. I also went into like KB and like Toys R Us and was like, Brandon, hey, do you guys have Chewbacca action figure? Do you guys have Princess Leia? Yeah, I don't think so, kid. Like we haven't had any in like a couple of weeks. Oh. Like and then you just leave like that. That experience is definitely was definitely there.
Yeah.
But also you were talking about, being aware of games ahead of time. A lot of times I had no conception that anything even existed until I like saw it at a friend's house.
Well, and it was
like
it had to have been like the Super Nintendo is all that there is, right? Like, that's the only.
I had
thing
no
that's
idea
there.
anything about PlayStation. I didn't know anything about PlayStation until we got over to actually. Well, we'll get into that in a second. But damn it, what was I gonna say?
You go to
forget about it.
A friend's house.
Yes. Thank you, Chris. You got it. Like I distinctly have this memory of going over to. I don't even think it was a friend's house. It was like somebody my parents knew. They had a kid that was like, because like I was like maybe 10 or something, and I feel like they had a kid that was like a teenager. So like while they were over taking care of something else, I have no idea what question mark adult business gestures broadly. And they were just over there, and I very distinctly remember this boy's room where I went over there, and it was really dark in the room. And he had this little television on top of like a little chest, and he said, "Oh, check this out!" And he pulled out a golden NES cartridge, and I was like, "Wow, I've never seen one like that before." And he put it in, and it was The Legend of Zelda. And I distinctly remember like walking around that world and then me getting a chance to do it and being like, wow, this is really hard, but I love that the cartridge is made of gold. Like that's so cool, and then remembering that, and that sort of stuff later on. But yeah, I had no conception that PlayStation even existed until I went to Singapore. And then it was like, oh yeah, this is what all the kids are into. And here's a PlayStation 1, and it comes with 30 games, and just pick which games you want. And of course it was a modded thing to play pirated games. And so I would go down to like the little shop that was around like the McDonald's or whatever that was below all of the like local housing. And like there would just be these CD shops that would just have jackets and jackets all along the walls. Like the little slips that you would see, like the little discs you would slide them into. They just had pockets all up and down all the walls. And it just in Sharpie, it would be like Final Fantasy VIII, disc 1, Final Fantasy VIII, disc 2, like stuff like that. And you just go in and they'd be like $0.25 a piece. And you just load up. That was the time when I could actually like go and get what I want.
The original Xbox Game Pass.
Basically, yeah. But it would be like, I would go down there and people would be like, oh, you got to try out this game. It's really cool. It's called StarCraft. And I'd be like, okay, I'll go down and like get it. And like, I had like basically no money, but I still could just get whatever I wanted from these guys.
Well, it cost you practically nothing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the US dollar was way stronger than the Singapore dollar. So like the conversion rate was ridiculous. But yeah, so that's another very early, memory that I have of like, oh wow, like the world, like in that moment, like the world was kind of opening up for me. And then I met people who were more, I was always like kind of the person who was the most into games until I got to high school, until I got to, actually like the second half of high school, when I met friends who were into PC games, who were into like PlayStation and stuff like that. And I got into this group where like everybody had a PS2, and I was like, okay, I'll get a PS2. And it came with Gran Turismo 3. And, then I went and got like Final Fantasy X. And I don't really remember a lot of games that I had besides that because I played Final Fantasy X forever. You know, but that was kind of how I was. And I don't know at that point if it was because I wasn't given, like, I didn't have enough money to buy games or if I was just content with what I had. But I really was I've got a couple of games and I'm just going to play those, you know, which is interesting. Because I don't know. You know, and that's ever since, you know, we had, my first thing wasn't the NES, it was the Magnavox Odyssey 2, you know, which I got from my uncle.
Wow.
My uncle Jimmy gave that to us. And he had an NES. So we had this game, and I put a picture of it in the platformers chat, so you guys can look at this. But it was a game called, the one that I remember is called Freedom Fighters for Odyssey 2, and I distinctly remember the cover of it, and it had this astronaut that was floating through space, trapped in a purple crystal, and you would fly around in this side-scrolling thing as this ship, and you would like run into them and pick them up, and that would be you like rescuing them as you went along, and you would blast all the aliens and stuff like that. That's something that I remember a lot.
So
and it had like,
yeah,
basically it was basically Resogun, but from like, I don't know, 1985 or whatever.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so it's that was the first thing, and then, you know, Speedway, Spin Out, and Crypto Logic, which were games where you had to type on the keyboard that was built into the console. So it was wow. Really wild, and the controller was literally just a joystick and one button. So that was, you know, what it was, and then Nintendo revolutionized everything with the D-pad. But yeah, that was my first experience with the NES was going up to my uncle and aunt's house before they got divorced and staying up late. They were the fun people in town. Like, we would go see my grandparents, and like they would be like, "Oh, don't you want to draw with crayons on the kitchen table on this construction paper
for 8 hours?
You want to do some crafts? You want to go out and climb the pear tree?" I mean, I did. In their defense, I did want to go outside and climb all those trees and things. But when I went over to Uncle Jimmy's house, I could play Contra. I could play Super Mario Brothers 3. I could play, I think, Batman Revenge of the Joker or Return of the Joker.
Yep.
Whatever it was. It's a very, like the Joker's big face on the cartridge. And then we would just type in the Konami code and get as far as we could before we lost literally all of those lives or just got bored. But yeah. It's wild to think so long ago and have, you know, those people are either gone or they're not together anymore or they don't have that house anymore. And it's just these moments of me in this place with like shag carpet, you know, wearing a bunch of weird colors and hanging out with a sweater, playing these games.
Were you a Burning Crusade character that was currently leveling? Why were you wearing weird colors?
Just like compared to, like, you know, like the actually, I mean, I feel like this is actually a pretty close color to what I would be wearing at the time. It would be like this dull, like kind of soft yellow with like some red or like orange, like gradient, like soft gradient or something like that. Some brown, like a lot of brown, you know, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, corduroy pants.
What happened to corduroy pants, man? I can't believe that hasn't come back. Or it has, and I'm just not with it, which is very possible.
It might have.
Yeah.
So I have a theory about corduroy pants.
Oh boy, here we go.
That all corduroy was made once.
It's like candy corn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's exactly like candy. It was made once in 1805. And eventually, we just
ran
it
out.
all up. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That little foot of people walking with it eventually wore it all out. And so corduroy is extinct.
Wow.
Forward out for corduroy.
God, a lot of, you know, we talk about finite resources on this planet. Corduroy
does not come to mind, but now my
Man,
whole
now
worldview has changed.
Now you know. Mm-hmm.
What a tragic story.
It is.
The
cautionary tale, really.
I didn't know that I would miss you until you were already gone.
Yep.
You can literally buy corduroy pants at like Target, like right
Shut
now.
up, Josh.
Are you looking this up right now?
It's
I
not
literally
real.
just typed in corduroy pants, and it's like
faux-
Target,
It's faux
Nordstrom,
corduroy.
Amazon.
It's corduroy.
Now here's the corduroy.
Corduroy.
Okay.
Fake corduroy.
Well, hold on. Here's what you need to understand, though. It's only
Literally-
corduroy. It's from the corduroy
Region of France.
Region of France. Otherwise, it's just sparkling
Right.
pants.
There's literally an article from a site that says the 10 best corduroy pants for men in 2022. They update this shit regularly.
Oh,
Oh,
man.
The 10 best corduroy pants for men.
Yo, if they paid me, I'd write that list.
This year.
I'm not proud.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. I'm honestly surprised I haven't already been paid to write that.
I've got one. What is your most, because this was going to be one of my stories for like remembering when a game came out. What is a game that like you remember having like the jingle all the way booster moment, or not booster moment? What's that
Turbo
guy's
Man?
name? Yeah, Turbo Man moment.
Turbo Man.
I
Where
literally just made a Turbo Man reference like
Turbo Man.
yesterday or a couple of days ago. Yeah, on Twitter.
Where like you're in a store and a guy in his 30s or whatever, like one of us is describing to you how amazing like a video game is or whatever. So like when I was in Blockbuster with my mom, I remember my mom and I drove all over to like 4 or 5 different Blockbusters trying to find a copy of Spider-Man 2 on either the GameCube or Xbox, because like
Excellent game.
it was just like such a revolutionary game at the time. Like one of the first like really big open world games. And I remember this dude at like the 4th Blockbuster, like when we asked him if they had it, like just started laughing at us. And he was like, "You have no idea how incredible this game is. You can climb to the top of the Empire State Building and just
No,
jump
we don't
off."
have it.
And my mom and I were like, wow. Just blown away by it.
He gives you the sales pitch, and then he's like, "But we don't
have it. Go pound sand."
Yeah. Oh man, I feel like it would have had to been. There was a period early on in college when I was getting into more niche Japanese games that were like fucking impossible to find because nobody stocked them, first of all, and the places that did stock them only really had them if they were used, and so you were totally dependent on somebody selling it back to the store. So like when I first got into like so I played Final Fantasy Tactics, which, you know, as all of you know, is something that I hold dear to my heart. But I had seen like the cover of Disgaea or something, and I heard about it on the wind. You know, I'd heard it whisper to me through the air that like this is something that I might need to check out. And it was either that, or it was like Mega Man Powered Up, or Mega Man Maverick Hunter X for PSP that had like the Vile, you could play as Vile.
Yep.
It was one of those games. It was either like Disgaea on PS2 or one of those other ones where it was just like, I was always like, they were like, "Oh, we had one a while back. Like we get them every once in a while." And it was just like going back every time. And it was just like, man, you know, or having somebody tell me about like some fighting game or something that I couldn't like get, where it was just like, God, like I'm going around all over these places. And like, this was like before the time when online marketplaces were really that much
like
of a
popping
thing.
off, yeah.
Yeah. Like I had purchased, I think actually maybe before then, I had purchased a copy of Final Fantasy VII on PS1 on eBay, but that was like right as eBay was becoming like a thing. And I made that one purchase and then my identity was stolen. Like because of that.
Oh my God.
So yeah, and then like they charged a bunch of stuff up, and I had this big thing with the bank. It was literally my first online purchase ever, and my identity was stolen.
Fuck, dude. That's
really bad luck.
The comedic timing on that shit was incredible.
Yeah.
Oh my
now
God.
I can laugh about it because it's just like outrageous and like nothing.
Well,
like,
you're
I was able to
still
clear
you.
stuff up.
So
Yeah,
it would all
it's
work
crazy.
out.
Yeah, I would have been.
Like
that would
as
have
if
been
the
terrible.
other person suddenly goes like becomes biased, and then Brian just becomes some like husk
I turned into one of the putties from Power Rangers.
Nice.
Yeah.
Or the Goombas from the Mario movie or something.
Yeah.
Is this the part where we find out that you were
Was it
originally
worth
Ed
it?
Sheeran and then he stole your face and your identity
Yes.
and
Yeah.
became a
Yes.
famous musician?
Yep.
That is funny, man.
It sucks. Yeah.
Tragic.
So now you guys all know my tragic backstory. But yeah, so that was something where it was just like, God, I was driving all over creation. And I don't know whether that's a real one-to-one over what you were talking about of like somebody telling you about something that you can't get and how awesome it is. But that was definitely a moment where I was like, God, like I'm driving all over creation trying to find this freaking thing and there's nobody that has it.
Yeah.
Or like you search for something online when it did get to the point where like Best Buy was like, hey, we know who has what. And you type in, oh man, this game that I'm so excited for. And it's like nobody within 500 miles has it. And it's like, ugh.
What about 6?
Yeah. And you just keep going. And then it's like, you know, from Houston to like Austin to Dallas to Amarillo to like Phoenix to, you know, and it's like you have to
All
drive
of a
to
sudden, you're
California to
doing
get one.
U.S. to Canadian exchange rates, and
Yeah. And then you're not even you anymore.
Yeah. Someone stole your identity. Now you're Canadian.
Man, I don't know because it like there would always be those games you wanted, and like around when, you know, GameStop became the juggernaut that it was around, you know, that time when we were all growing up. Like I remember we would go to multiple ones, sometimes in a day, to try and find like a specific thing, but a lot of times it was like you just kind of dug around. And then you would find stuff you had heard of or that you were looking for, and you would just buy it. I remember like right around, like when I got a car, so probably like 2008. My cousin like really wanted to play the Fatal Frame series, so I drove him to like 4 different GameStops to hunt down all 1 through 3 for PS2.
Wow.
We managed to find them all. But like we had to travel around. Nowadays it's like you just go online, you like click the button, right? Whatever. But like we had to actually like go and like you had to search them out instead of just like looking up where they were online. Like big stuff you could always find. You always found Nintendo stuff everywhere. But like sometimes you wanted those really obscure,
Yeah.
you know, games that like only weirdos who are super into games or like into anime whatever like want to find.
Dodonpachi.
Yeah.
Dude, oh my god, I can't wait for that to come in.
And
Can't wait.
another thing was nowadays so many things are handled by like robocalls or like AI assisted stuff like that. But back then it was like you had like really 2 options. You could go to the store and look around yourself and try to see, you could talk to somebody at a desk and they'll be like, well, it says we have 1, and that could mean literally anything. So you could go back to the section and look for yourself and hope against hope that either the people had restocked the area or brought stuff back to where it belonged, or somebody hadn't like just left it behind like a coat rack somewhere else in the store.
Can you check the back?
Yeah. Or yeah, and you have them check the back, or you call over the phone and hope to God that you get somebody who actually understands what you're saying. Because so many times you'd call and you'd be like, okay, I want this game. And they'd go back and they'd be like, yeah, we got it. You know, we got it. And then you go there and they're like, yeah, no, we don't have that. And it's like, well, you said that you had it. And it's like, yeah, no, we got games. Like it's good. We got them. And it's just like, you don't have any idea what I'm talking
Especially
about.
if that game was like some JRPG with like a name that was like
I'm
50
looking
miles
for
long.
Persona 4 Ultimax on the PS3.
I'm looking for Divine Judgment 4 DX edition for the PS2. Do you have this?
I'm looking for Blaze Blue Continuum Shift Extend for the PSP.
They're like, yeah, sure, kid. We have that.
Yeah, we got them.
Here's Luminous. Shut the fuck
We
up.
got loads of them.
Yeah, we got Mario.
I'm using these things as coasters. Come take them off my hands.
Yo, I know you want to do that fighting game stuff, but here, let me sell you on this. It's called Echo Shift. It's like an MC Escher painting. You played Echo Chrome? This is the sequel.
I've got the Madden from 3 years ago. You want that? $59.99.
Yo, I heard you want
Yeah.
Street Fighter EX plus Alpha, but what I got for you is Battle Arena Toshinden, kid. I'm telling you, it's hot.
Look at this long box. It's made of paper. Who ever heard of that? Jeez.
What? So let's talk about launches or standing in line, because there were a couple of events where I was so excited that I was like, I have to have it. And either I pre-ordered it or I showed up when they were like, this is when it comes in. This is, when you need to be here and all that sort of stuff. I think the earliest one that I can think of right now is probably Halo 4 for me. That was a big one. And that was also on Election Day down here.
Yes, and they had Election Day themed, at least in our Best Buy, like memorabilia that they gave out.
Yeah.
That was Halo 4 themed.
Mm-hmm. So we went.
Weird.
Yeah.
My wife and I voted, and we voted early in the morning, and we were standing in a huge line. And I took a picture. We took a picture of the line leading to the voting booth. And I think I posted it somewhere, like on Facebook or something, and was like, "Is this a line for Halo 4?" And then like I went over to the Best Buy to get it, and it was like this electric moment, because like I didn't typically. It was a time when I had time, had money, I had a car, I could go and actually get the thing, but I didn't have a like. I'm waiting in line at midnight to get it. With that game, that was something else. There was other stuff.
I did that quite a bit, especially in college.
I did that with college. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you had nothing to do.
Right.
Yeah.
You got nothing going on.
You were so
you were staying up
excited.
until midnight anyway.
Yeah, you weren't doing anything good anyway. So
you're like, we're gonna get in and out at 1 a.m. I don't care. Let's just go. Let's just go pick up fucking, whatever's coming out.
I have very distinct memories of the lead up, speaking of getting hyped, of the lead up and release of Halo 2, right? Because I got the Xbox shortly after it came out, played Halo. It was incredible, right?
It was awesome. Right? Yeah.
It is hard to describe nowadays if you weren't there, like the leap from whatever existed before Halo to Halo.
Oh, it's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Because the previous biggest thing was GoldenEye.
Yeah. We had Turok before that. You could see for 3 feet, and that was it. And then so this drop, I remember, like, not to go on a tangent. I remember my girlfriend at the time, wife now, like she's showing her the grass textures, being like, "Look, when you look at the ground, you can see individual blades of grass." Never mind that it's like a flat 2D texture, but like again at the time, incredible. And so I was incredibly hyped. I remember going to like every video game store and grabbing every pamphlet about Halo 2 coming out.
Yeah.
And I remember, spending all day downloading a tiny trailer that big,
240p
website. Yeah, exactly.
And you would watch that thing like 50 times.
Oh yeah,
we didn't have YouTube.
Right. My dad has no idea why the phones haven't worked all day. It's because I've been downloading this 2-minute trailer. And so
you get a like a 300 by 200 like pixel
JPEG
picture JPEG of it. And then once you actually get it, you save it, and then you stretch it to fit your screen, and so it's pixelated as all hell.
Good stuff. Yeah, exactly.
It looks a lot like the grass in Halo 2.
It looks like you rubbed Vaseline on your eyeballs. And so I was super hyped for it, and I had a job, so I like managed to like pre-order it, right? And at the time you had to, because there wasn't digital distribution. And I distinctly remember the day it came out was also a game day. I played football in high school. And so I play the football game, right? And then it is like, by the time you get done with the game, it's nighttime, you change all the stuff. It's like 10:30, right? And it's like, oh shit, I got to get in line right away. So I have very clear memories of standing in line, like to pick up my copy of Halo 2, like covered in blood and grass and like dirt and sweat. I think I still got eye black on. I'm in my little like happy crop top, like cut off like you would wear under like your football pads, looking absolutely ridiculous and just hyped as hell for this game to come out. And just there, like happy as could be for like an hour and a half, like 2 hours waiting for my turn in line. So excited to play Halo
No
2.
Smartphone.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, no,
You
didn't
had
have
to
anything
talk
like
to
that.
people.
Just
Yeah.
chilling, talk to people, read stuff.
Right? Yeah, Halo, right? Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, dog.
Yeah.
And then you have conversations like this with them.
Right? Yeah, exactly. That's the original podcast.
Mhm.
You have conversations about other lines you waited in.
Right. Right.
Man, you think this line is bad? Check out the line for Banjo Kazooie. I was in that one for hours.
Banjo
I had to
welcome,
push
Chris.
over so many grandmas to get my
Right?
copy.
Right. Yeah. You've been in line before? It's my first time, so you know. Yeah, and so that I get that, of course. You know, so I'm at home. I probably was the worst smelling human being in that line, and you know that was ages before we had social distancing, so we're all crammed in tight. And
They were like,
and
"This
then,
fucking kid stinks."
oh yeah, and then I so I get home, right, and I will say, like, you know, my girlfriend is with me, and so we finally like go home, but it's like after midnight. It's a school night because I'm pretty sure it was like a Tuesday or something, or like something appalling. And then like she was like, I want to watch Gilmore Girls.
And you're like, no.
Are you kidding me?
They did all this stuff, and I'm like, fine. So I have to like sit and watch like Gilmore Girls for an hour. Like, you know, read through my Halo 2 manual, but
You're like, my time is coming. My time is
Right.
gonna get here.
yeah, I don't even know if I
You waited
slept
this
that day.
long.
Yeah, that part of it is like, all right, I'm gonna make sure that like my plate is completely clear and nobody needs anything from me before I boot this thing
Although-
up, because
Yeah.
once I do, you're dead to me.
To defend your now wife, like back then, there was no streaming. Like you couldn't just watch
miss Gilmore
Girls,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like you had to be there when it
Unless
came
you had
on.
like DVR or something like that.
TiVo,
yeah,
TiVo.
so
Or
it
you
was
had
it
like
was
a
different
VCR or
time.
something and you were recording it while it was on. But you couldn't use the TV for
yeah.
anything else while you were doing that.
Right.
I distinctly remember being really upset with my parents because they made me miss an episode of Gundam Wing.
Ooh.
Like when I had to go to the store, the grocery store, something. And I was like, damn it. Like, now I'm not going to know what happens, even though every single episode of that show begins with like a 10-minute fucking,
right.
here's
Previously.
everything up till
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
Yeah.
First season is an entire recap.
Yeah, but yeah, man, TV was so I do understand the whole like I've waited so long for this, but at the same time it's like, you know, gotta watch my stories
Yeah, right.
because
exactly.
Yeah.
I won't see them if I don't see them.
Yeah.
This is kind of off topic, but like along the same beat. I was at a friend's house a couple weeks ago, and something came up where we were talking about 90s music videos. And we just started looking up like what are the best 90s music videos of all time. And there was like Shakira, Celine Dion, like, and that's the way it is. And
Oh my
like we
God.
started going through all these like these songs that I just hadn't heard in like a super long time, and I was like, oh my God, like this is stuff that they don't even play on like classic 90s radio, but like the music videos were so popular.
But these were like the bangers of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like nobody
Yeah.
talks about them anymore. It's super weird.
Dude, I would go for
You
that. I remember like there were channels that were literally just music like videos
Oh,
that would
VH1
run, like
and-
on loop.
yeah.
But, like even
Yeah.
like I remember they had some like on demand ones where you could like there was like a 3-digit number or whatever you could like pay a couple
Oh,
bucks
yeah.
to request it. They would come around, and like this was sort of like when MTV was transitioning out of like music quite a bit. And so yeah, I just like sit there and watch them loop and hope your favorite song would like loop back
Dude,
around.
I would do that all the time when we got satellite TV, like we got Fuse, and I used to watch Fuse like
exactly.
religiously.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah. And yeah, if the song you didn't like the song that was on, you would like mute it, and I'd go back to playing like DS or something, and then you'd look up and you'd be like, oh shit, my cam, and you turn it back on or whatever. But like,
yeah, exactly. Or
it was
just
Or lit.
using up the last
Or
button
lit.
on your remote.
Oh my God.
To like go back
Lit.
to it.
Lit or Less Than Jake or
dude.
you know,
for me it would have been like My Chem and like Yellow Card and Coheed.
Simple Plan.
Yeah.
Like Simple Plan, stuff like
Yeah.
that.
For me it would have been like Linkin Park.
Yeah, Linkin Park.
Yep.
Limp Bizkit.
Oh my god.
The Lost Prophets Before We Knew. You know. Ugh. I'm not gonna go back and listen to that stuff now, but I really like that.
What was the anime music video that Linkin Park did?
That was Linkin Park. Yeah, so that was off of Meteora. The song was Breaking the Habit, I think.
Oh my god, yeah. What a good video.
Incredible video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like shows like
a great album.
Even just close ups like slicing like the tomato and like the use of color. Awesome video.
Yeah.
You know what? Wait.
Any
my
Blink
friends
songs?
and I did a few times. Yeah. My friends and I did this a few times, like over quarantine. We would get on Discord and I would stream YouTube videos of like, it would be like 3 hours of 90s commercials. And we would just watch them. Super fun. And we hadn't done it for we haven't done it for a long time. And then I had some friends over the other week and I was like, on YouTube, we saw like an hour of 80s and 90s like Halloween commercials. We were like, fuck it. We turned it on and man, we unlocked some like core memories that night because there were like things like there was a Goosebumps board game that I owned.
That's my jam. Yeah, let's go.
There was a Goosebumps
what
board
did you
game
say,
that
Justin?
I owned.
Creepy crawlers.
Huh?
I was just gonna say creepy. Yes, and I had those.
You would step on them, right? And then would go, yeah. There was like a
or like
Goosebumps
any of those like
seasonal,
McDonald's commercials where it would be like
yes.
Ronald McDonald going out and taking like a cup of ice cream to the kids that are skating out on the frozen lake or something.
Yo, the
And,
Halloween
sometimes
McDonald's toys were so tight. Like
they were great, and sometimes
the tails are coming back.
Sometimes their ads would have like entire arc.
Yeah.
Like
they would run these ones, and then there would be like a part 2 and then a part 3 in the ads.
It was like a lonely kid in the corner, and Ronald McDonald was bringing them in, and he didn't feel welcomed with the crew. And then he gave him like a cheeseburger. Right. And he's like, I can be friends with people now.
which
made no sense.
In hindsight, the setup to that commercial is basically the plot of It, but like with less like eating children.
Yeah.
And eating burgers instead.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So, I definitely recommend going down memory lane sometimes.
So something similar, I had a friend come to visit me down here, and we watched an hour-long YouTube video that was just like 80s cartoon openings.
Mm-hmm.
And it was incredible.
Sometimes, some crimes.
Anyway, Thundercats are on the move. Thundercats are loose. And you're just like, like
thunder, 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 thunder.
Oh yeah. Incredible good time.
Yeah.
Darkwing Duck, and then there's another one.
Darkwing
Duck. Yeah.
Better watch out, you bad boys. Oh, dude, I would watch Darkwing Duck right now. That show is incredible.
Let's
go. It's on Disney Plus. I'm pretty sure you can watch it right now.
All right, I'm out, guys.
See you later. Thanks for being here.
I got an appointment with my boy Double D.
Yeah. God, what was his buddy who was like the robot, like the one wheel, like giant mech.
I don't have
that dude was like my favorite.
I had a tiny little diecast model of him on the bookshelf in my office when I still had an office.
He was like a dork, but he would like transform into.
He was like a superhero.
Gizmo Duck says Mom Jump in the chat.
Yeah.
Yes.
Value add right there. Yeah, my daughter would just call him Robot Donald Duck. But yeah. Yeah, and of course, like Launchpad, who was like the pilot in every Disney everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Launchpad McQuack.
Tailspin. Oh, wheel. Yep. Tailspin.
Right. Oh, wheel. Yeah. A good time.
Anyway, video games.
Hey, Tailspin video game.
Did they make a Tailspin video game?
They do have. Yeah, there's several versions of it.
Yeah. Pretty good, actually.
They did.
Yeah.
And there's that famous like Scrooge platformer that I haven't played that they re-released.
Ducktales?
Oh. Yeah, that one.
Okay, so you want to tie everything back together? So
sure, let's do it.
So
full circle.
Everybody knows that Keiji Inafune created Mega Man X level series, right? Like everybody gets that. But he didn't do it by himself. And one of like the key producer that worked on the series with him starting in Mega Man 2, and I forget his name. I could probably Google it. Was also
I'll look it up while you're talking.
Was also the producer on Ducktales and Mega Man X. And so it's like the same people created all these, and I forget this guy's name, but like his biggest like claim to fame basically was like he wanted to make these games hard, like he wanted them to be hard as hell. Oh, look at that, incredible. But so like
was this like the director or
this was I mean different roles and different roles. I think he was the producer on Mega Man X.
Tokuro Fujiwara?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay, that's the producer.
Yeah, and so if you look at his gamography,
all the Disney Capcom games.
All the Disney Capcom games.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Little Mermaid.
All of them.
Sometimes
Little
credited as
Nemo,
Professor
Adventures in
F
Dreamland.
or Arthur
Ghouls and
King.
Ghosts and Goblins. Like he wanted games to be hard.
Yeah.
And he
And
made
Bionic Commando.
Yep.
No. He
Chip
was
and
clearly
Dale.
a fan of killing
Dude,
Hitler.
I love Chip and Dale.
That game rips.
Rescue Rangers. Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah, I went through a when I went through a little phase where I was collecting
Aladdin.
carts for NES, and I was trying to get like all of the Disney ones, and then I realized that like I wasn't going to be able to afford DuckTales 2, and then my wife just bought it for me for Christmas one year when we were like first dating.
Oh, dude, he was also producer on X-Men Mutant Apocalypse.
Yeah, dude, his gamography is amazing. How much was DuckTales 2?
She spent like $400 on it. It was the cart and the instruction booklet. I was like, I've never played it.
I bet it's more expensive now.
I think it is. I got a repro box for it, but the booklet and the cart are original. But yeah.
Yeah, the most expensive game I bought was, and I actually got a pretty good deal on it, but I paid about $200 for Fire Emblem Path of Radiance.
Oh yeah, that one. That's like $350 now.
Yeah. Is that the Game Boy Advance one?
It's like GameCube.
No, that's GameCube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a great game too.
I've never played it, but
it's still my favorite game in the series. And
wow.
Like I like Fire Emblem quite a bit.
Cool.
Yeah, I gotta play that.
So I don't actually know what the. It's probably one of these limited runs, but it's probably maybe the most I've ever spent on a game.
I have. Did you ever see the gold Famicom Punch Out that they gave out at a golf tournament?
No.
Nope.
Yeah. So
Buy a golf tournament.
There was a golf tournament, I think in Japan, where that was the prize for anybody that like attended. They gave out this limited run of Punch Out for the Famicom, and it was a gold cartridge like the Legend of Zelda. But I don't have the box or anything. I just have the cartridge, but I have one of those. That's like probably my rarest thing that I have, other than DuckTales too.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like the most that I ever played on a game was probably like $100 for Baldur's Gate 2, like when it came out. I don't remember how much it was, but I feel like I remember it being about that in the huge box, like it was the collector's set or whatever.
Speaking of a manual that you can read cover to cover, that thing was like this thick, right?
Yeah, it was
like
huge.
Spiral bound. Yeah, and
Spiral bound, and it had like all the Dungeons and Dragons rules, so like you ostensibly could have taken that and played tabletop stuff if you wanted to.
And like that it's a novel. It is not a one sitting kind of booklet to read through. And I read through that one multiple times.
Yeah, me too. And it was like I would read about all the spells and stuff and be like, that's cool.
Yep. Here's all these really cool spells my paladin isn't going to use.
Yeah. I went through and I was like trying to figure out the stuff that Irenicus used on the people he killed at the beginning.
Oh,
he just cast that volley of spells.
Yeah,
it's like,
okay,
okay,
like Finger of Death and like a million.
One of those
things.
is petrify, and then he hit them with something else, and then like a bunch of stuff like that. Yeah, man, what a great
game!
What a great game! Some would say the best game ever made.
Not me.
Yeah.
It's tied for first for me.
Yeah, it's definitely in my top 10. It's no Mega Man X, but it's in the top 10.
Yeah,
it ranks.
Yeah, man.
Awesome. Mega Man X is such a complete game. Like we were talking earlier about like goofy video game rumors, right? And how they're never true. It's like, if you scare the Snorlax with a feather, he will transform into Ultra Snorlax. And it's like none of that stuff was true.
You could do a Hadouken in Mega Man.
But sometimes it's you get the Hadouken in Mega Man. No, you don't. I'm not gonna fall for your. Listen, Jimmy, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me 47 times though.
If you played Marvel vs. Capcom, you could kind of.
Well, that's the thing. You can Hadouken in Mega Man X.
You can. It's hard to do.
It is this. I mean, it's the same like finger motion, but like again, like to do like oh yeah, for the 2-minute like nude code or whatever, you got to do this one thing like 8 times, and then it actually is like that. Like you have to get to a certain point in the game, you have to collect everything there is in the game, and then you have to go through this exact same level 7 times.
Oh my god!
I think it's Armored Armadillo stage.
Yeah, exactly. And right above the little boss fight area is a little like chamber, and the 7th time you do it, you go up there, and like Dr. Light, who normally looks like Santa Claus in a lab coat, is dressed up
as like
Ryu.
a gi.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so cool.
And
have you guys never done this before?
I've never played Mega Man
amazing.
X.
I've never even heard of this because I've played this game like a million times.
You do it and you get the Hadouken, and like it's like to do it, you have to be you have to have full health, but like it's literally just the motion, like the forward down forward.
But it does so much damage,
and it's an insta kill on anything you hit. You will insta kill bosses with it if you hit it.
You just have it for the rest of the game.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It only works when your health is full, and like it takes a second to do, and the bosses are really fast and mobile, so it's not necessarily game breaking. Like you usually have to have pretty good timing with it, but like yeah, you get it and it works. And then in Mega Man X2, they added the Dragon Punch, like the Shoryuken.
Yeah.
That's
I haven't done that in Mega Man X2.
Or
I was never that good. I was never that good at that game. Mega Man X is the only one that I was good at. The rest of them, I feel like they were so hard.
I think
they're all pretty freaking hard.
I think I'm a pretty solid video gamer kind of in general. Like I think I quit myself pretty well. Mega Man X like series is one of the few where I think I'm legitimately extremely good at. I can fly through those things like blindfolded. And yeah, I know where everything is.
Well, good for you. The rest of us,
I can do that. Yeah, I can do it with the first one, but the rest of them, I'm like, don't make me fight this freaking alligator again, like in this blood pool. Like I'm not gonna fight this guy.
Did Mega Man X
the easiest boss in that game though?
Did it drop in price? Like I remember this game being like $90 if you wanted to pick up a cartridge of it. It's like $25 now.
Oh, really?
Is it because of the collections? All the collections they keep coming out with?
Maybe that's why.
That might be, but you think the
you'd think a Super Nintendo copy would still be.
Yeah, because like, you're thinking an original one.
Sure. Yeah. More expensive. But no, I mean they're like.
I was just at a retro store like yesterday, and I didn't see a copy of it. So
that's good. I would pay an unreasonable sum for a complete.
I need to like Chris is gonna love hearing this, by the way. So I was at a retro store in Alameda, California yesterday, whose name I cannot remember, even though I've been there multiple times. And they had a Sega Saturn hooked up to. They had basically a kiosk for a Sega Saturn. They had a Sega Saturn hooked up, and they had one of the Sonic games running, like one of the 3D Sonic games running, and it had a CRT, and it was playing. And me and all my friends stared at it, and we were like, you know what? God fucking damn, this looks amazing.
Yeah,
like
it
actually looks like incredibly good. And then I was like, you know what? Chris was right. CRT for these old ass games looks fucking awesome.
You know what I did this weekend?
There's something about it.
I fired up. I'm setting up a Wii to bring to my parents' house for my nephews whenever they go over. They can like go into the basement and play it.
Nice.
I fired up Twilight Princess like on this just to see what it looked like, and then I fired it up the HD version on the living room PC, and like it just looks better. Like the bloom in that game on the GameCube and everything, and on the Wii. Like it's made to be on this kind of display. Like it's not meant to be at this like crazy high res. Everything looks blocky and just kind of gross.
It's sterilized.
Yeah.
When you do it, it sucks so much out of it.
Yeah. Totally different experience.
Yeah. It looks great.
Great game. Absolutely great game.
Oh
yeah. Another midnight release game that I collected.
Yeah. Man. Any final thoughts? Any final gaming memories that we can talk about before we sign off on this nostalgic episode?
I've got one more that I want to give a shout out to. I said before we recorded I was going to do a sad one, but I'm not going to do it. I always just want to give a shout out. Yeah, I'll save that for Platformers After Dark when we're all sad. The Rock Band Endless Setlist. If you ever had the pleasure of doing the endless set list in Rock Band, like what what an experience that was.
It was a nightmare.
Yeah. We started at like 5:00. It was like the summer of 2008. The housing market was collapsing around us. We went to my friend Nick's house. And I think we started at like 7:00 that night and just went all through the morning doing every song in Rock Band 1.
Wow.
Yeah.
Smoke in the chat says, I remember getting the Iron Bladder achievement.
Yeah.
Yep, I did that.
I did that too.
It was incredibly difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, we would
and then they never did it again because they realized it's really bad for people.
Yeah.
To do that.
It's like medically harmful, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like maybe culpable, you know, for some stuff that happened. I remember that age. Like there was a time when I had my roommate Caboose, where I would be playing tactical games, like I'd be playing Disgaea on my PS2 in my room, and then I'd have the door open to the main room, and he'd be playing like something ridiculous. He'd be playing Through the Fire and the Flames on Expert on Guitar Hero or something like that. Like he was the one who was going through and who was like getting full marks on every thing in that, and he was ridiculous.
Furthest I ever got was 96%.
Wow. On Expert?
On Expert. It's like one of my biggest regrets in life is not finishing it. I was so mad that day. I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I just like walked away from it.
I remember people used to tape their green button.
Yep. And then you would
to
only
make
do
it
the bottom.
easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you would just do the hammer-ons and then strum if you had to, made a mistake or something.
Yeah.
I never got through it. It was too much.
I was capped at hard. That was the peak of my Guitar Hero skill. Although I do have a Guitar Hero story too.
Okay.
So all right. So set the scene. This was mid to late like 2000s. When Guitar Hero is in vogue, and my wife was pregnant with our first child, and a few friends and I go out drinking, and get a little drunk, and we come home and we do a couple of things. First, we paint the room that's going to become the nursery. Absolutely ruined one of my friends' like sweatshirts forever, and I had to buy her a new one because we were drunk. But then we're like, you know what? We should play some Guitar Hero. I hadn't played in a while. Stuff had been put away, and like this was back when the Xbox controllers still had the little breakaway. You remember that?
Yeah.
And
on the 360.
Come off. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so like we were gonna play for 360, and the Guitar Hero controller didn't have the breakaway, but the Xbox controllers did. But the for one of the guitars,
the Explorer had it.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I have one still.
And actually, I think I'm getting conflated. Like, so the guitar had the breakaway, but the controllers we had didn't. But for a second guitar, it was missing the breakaway. We couldn't find it. We tore the house apart. We were like drunk. We wanted to play Guitar Hero, and we were missing it. And so the only thing that I could figure out to do was like, all right, well, fuck it. Let's cut the end off of it. Let's cut the end off one of the controllers that works. Let's splice those sons of bitches together, and we're gonna make a breakaway. And so, okay, we're drunk, we're tired, we're covered in paint, and I'm in the kitchen with like kitchen knives, like slicing like the jackets off of these wires, and then like just trying to like see straight, put them together. We do grab some electrical tape, wind that son of a bitch up, plug it in. Damn thing worked, and we spent the rest of the night playing Guitar Hero with one just spliced to shit guitar.
And then you woke up and you were like, "What have I done?"
Right? Yeah, and then I woke up to the house burning down around me. No. Fortunately, it apparently I'm an excellent junior electrician.
Through the Fire and the Flames, indeed.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So many good memories, and some not so great ones, but yeah. Anyways, I guess that's all we got. Thank you all for hanging out with us for episode 250. I can't believe that we've recorded this show 250 times. Hell yeah.
Wow.
Achievement unlocked indeed. There you go. Indeed. Record 250 podcast episodes. But anyways, thanks as always to Justin for joining us. Always a pleasure. Always a delight. And yeah, so you can watch us. I'll record these episodes at twitch.tv/platformerspod. You can check the archive at youtube.com/platformerspod. You can check us out on Twitter at twitter.com/platformerspod. And you can find the stuff that I am doing. I am covering there's some deals up on Amazon right now that I'm going to be working on. I'm also working on some holiday gift guides for IGN. So you'll see those coming out for the rest of the year to give you some ideas on where you can find some cool stuff. And I'm going to be covering Call of Duty whenever I get access to that pretty soon. Hopefully they don't ask me for my phone number. But yeah, so that's what I've got going on. Josh, what do you got going on? Where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at the Jawa Josh. I don't tweet that much, but if you want to see the cool video essay stuff I'm working on, you can go to youtube.com/mediaismythic.
Chris.
You can find me at Shrives93. You can also find me on the Toadstool Boardroom. Weekly episodes of that drop every Thursday. We just did our countdown of a top 25, our top 25 GameCube games, with the asterisk being GameCube games that among the three of us we have played, because there are some omissions. People are upset. Tough noogies.
Nice. Justin, where can people find you?
The best place to find me is on Twitter. It's my last name at KOREIS. I will not repeat how to pronounce it. Other than that, I
remember.
I honestly, I worked my butt off for like August, September, and so I'm giving myself a bit of a break. So I'm still doing some weekly Destiny content for Eurogamer. Other than that, I've got some embargoed things coming down the pipe for some very big upcoming releases. So, I'll talk about it a little bit then.
Cool.
Otherwise, I'm just going to be chilling, hanging out, stealing Brian's identity once again.
Oh no, my face is melting away. I mean, hey, if I got a swap for your face, I mean, I'd be trading up. So there you go.
It's a very warm face.
Yeah. Nice. A very warm face, what I've always wanted. I asked my parents for it every Christmas, and they never got one.
And they just kept giving you video games. Damn it!
Yeah, they kept getting, and they weren't even the games that I wanted, and they weren't even the faces that I wanted that they gave me.
Putting challenge.
Yeah, yeah. You can find me on Twitter at Bone Storm. You can find me on Twitter at Ribnax, RIBNAX, and I tweet a lot, and I quote tweet a lot, and I retweet a lot, and I like a lot. So there you go. You can check me out there. For everybody over here at the Platformers, we thank you so much for joining us for 250 episodes. If you want to hit us up on Apple Podcasts, we appreciate every review. That helps, new people see the show. And that helps a lot. So thanks a lot. And here's to many more. From everybody here at the Platformers, we hope that you have a wonderful week out there and stay safe, because until next time, we are out.